While Wintertodd, we do our thing at Wintertodd over on the left screen, we're going to have a look at B0aty's video, the OSRS new skill Waffle. OSRS is obviously because the new skills have just come out, and we're going to want to discuss it with the people. Let me just get the volume right. If it's too quiet or too loud, guys, just let me know. I'm going to crank it though, and hopefully you guys are okay with what's coming through. Yeah, I'm excited to see what B0aty has to say now, because obviously we saw his previous video a long time ago that he was thinking that sailing was the obvious answer to a new skill. I openly disagreed with that, and I don't know if anything else was said on the subject after that, but we'll see if his opinion has changed since the proposals.
Alrighty, Brotherman Bills, welcome to a video where I am going to be doing, in the background, some easy clue scrolls, and nothing in this video will be a spoiler to my collection log series as a heads up. The reason why is because I'm not going to open any caskets. You can see I'm stacking them, so therefore there'll be no collection log slots, no nothing. All I'm spoiling in this video is that I am working on easy clues, and obviously a video will come up. I'm pretty sure the video will be titled something to do with easy clues anyway, so it's all good. Okay. But anyways, jumping in, my bank has actually genuinely changed in the last 2 seconds, so let me fix that. Okay, so first of all, let me answer some questions. Am I using a plugin when I open my implings? Yes. What happens is as soon as I pull a clue scroll, the plugin I'm actually using right now will remove all of my impling jars from the inventory, or they will just make them invisible, as so. You see that? So therefore, I don't open the extra 5. The plugin is called...
The fuck has this got to do with the new skill?
Or Impling Saver, sorry, something like that. I don't use plugins often.
Although
so
that's pretty cool.
Obviously address that immediately just to so people know. But
Don't
something
think
called like
fucking
Impling
cheating.
Saver or something. And it's just a gigantic time save when it comes down to the easy clue scrolls. And I don't really know if it's game breaking. All it's just doing is saving me a fair bit of time.
I think it's totally fine.
A bit quicker, which is all good. You know, I'm not killing the boss much easier, or a player, or whatever, but whatnot. But we'll see. That being said,
can we just acknowledge, like, this motherfucker has stacked 294 easy caskets. Sorry, I can barely stack like fucking 10 without feeling the urge to open them. I have nothing but the utmost respect for those who have the resilience to not open up your casket stacks before your current goal, because I could not do that. I gotta know. I got to know what's going on inside the caskets. How could you not want to open them? What if you finish everything you need by 100? You've got another 200 to open still. It's crazy. How do people stack it all? I tried to stack like mediums once, and I got to 10. I was like, nah, I gotta open these 8. This is too much. It's crazy, man. Torvesta beats skill specs and getting infernal. Haha. That's got nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. What if you got third age in there, you know? But it's easy clues. But yeah, still, you know?
Probably start using plugins, because I won't be able to beat anyone that's using plugins. All right, let's get in. Ladies and gentlemen, the new skills have been announced. The new skills are Sailing, Shamaneering. I've genuinely forgotten the name of the skill, bro.
You know, someone was like, shamanism could be druidicism instead of shamanism, or something else ism. I was like, why do we have to have ism on the end of it? This isn't like autism. It could just be druidic, the druidic skill. It doesn't have to be the druidicism skill. It could just be shamaneering. I don't know what like another word for shamanism, but like it doesn't have to be an ism for it to be a skill. Duality. Fast question: if I have a bofa, should I go for Shadow Ancestral, Tabo, or Missouri? I think you should sell your bank.
Shamaneering, shamanization. I don't know. It's not that one, but I've forgotten the name. The shaman one.
Shamaneering's funny.
And also taming. So this video is my opinions on them now. So the first thing I need to say, and this is a huge disclaimer, which is very, very important, is if you've opened this blog from Jagex, and you're a fan, let's say, of sailing, from when I made my concept video of how, I think the video is titled like Old School's New Skill Needs to be a Masterpiece. Now, the reason I made that video is, bottom line, that I had to explain to people before the new skill was coming in that the new skill has to be a masterpiece. Now, the video might not be worded that well if you go back to it to what I'm about to say next. Oh, shit. What I'm about to say next. But I wasn't in that video basically saying that sailing has to be the new skill. I brought up the concept of sailing as a concept that, in my opinion, of what I created as a hypothetical concept, would be a masterpiece of a skill if created correctly. Now, obviously, we don't know how this skill is going to actually be created. So, this video is me talking about the 3 pitches of skills so far, and I'm trying to once again go in with a very, very unbiased opinion on absolutely everything.
Which I think is the best way to go about it, especially when you're a creator or a person of influence. You have to be as unbiased as you can. Like I was saying when I did my reaction to the release yesterday, I did say that I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible, and I have my own opinions on sailing and other skill ideas and what they should and shouldn't be. But especially when you're a person of influence or someone that comes to you, like people come to me, people come to other creators and they ask for opinions and shit like that, you have to be as unbiased as possible, which I tried my best to be. I feel like I was pretty fair with most of what I said, at least.
And I think right now is extremely important for content creators in general, not to kind of push people towards a certain skill.
What I just said,
but more to try and explain what the skills will do on a bigger scale to the...
Which is another hard thing to do, because you'll find a lot of people just don't fucking listen. You've got it's a mix of 2 different things. You've got content creators who don't have a brain and will just push their idea and try to cement one belief to people, and then you'll have other content creators who won't do that. Then you'll have viewers who just don't fucking listen anyway. Like the amount of people that come to my stream and will have this narrow-minded view on, oh, sailing is this and Hunter 2 is taming, and then you explain to them that no, it's not, and then you explain the differences between summoning, Hunter, and taming, and they're still just like, nah, it's still Hunter 2. It's still just summoning reskin. Like, you can't change the mind of everyone, but I think if you're going to just constantly pick at flaws, like Herblore is basically druidic or whatever it was, shamanism that someone said here earlier, if you're just going to try to find anything to complain about in the skills, just vote no and shut up at the end of the day. Like, we get it. You don't like them. You don't want them. Like this. Want sailing, go play Sea of Thieves. Want shamanism, forces you to be an Iron Man. Want taming, summoning 2.0. But what was wrong with summoning? It provided utility. See, Nippon colleague, you should just vote fucking no and shut up, because by that comment, what you've just said there gives me two beliefs. 1, you're a dickhead, and 2, I just write off anything you fucking say at this point. Like, that's the most narrow-minded fucking thing. To be like, if you want sailing, go play Sea of Thieves. People don't want to fucking pay $40 or for the Xbox Pass to play Sea of Thieves when they want to play RuneScape. And sailing in this, the way it's pitched, is completely fucking different to Sea of Thieves. That's the most narrow-minded fucking thing you could say. And then you've got one shamanism, it forces you to be an Iron Man. No, it doesn't force you to be an Iron Man. Mining does the same thing. So does woodcutting. So does essentially rune crafting. Yes, you can buy the essence, but that's like the minimum, like that's the minimum buyable skill, the minimum buyable feature there is in a skill. Okay, you've got fishing, agility, slayer, pretty much any combat skill. Like, at what point are you going to go, if I can't buy it, that means it's for Iron Man? No. People don't want whales just instantly fucking slamming the skill to 99. That's what they don't want. They don't care if it's going to force you to play like an Iron Man. And the skill also is not refined. So even though in the pitch they were like, oh, they don't want it to be so you could just buy your way to 99, they might allow some aspects to be buyable that are, tantamount to just being like buying a rune essence for rune crafting. So you could buy a shit ton of one resource, and then you could use that for the skill. But it's got such little impact that you're really just speeding things up by stopping. But like, you're just not gathering it. But it provides almost no fucking XP benefit, as opposed to gathering it yourself. You could just go do bossing for 10 hours instead and save it up over time to the point you don't need to buy it. That isn't just RS3 if it's all buyable. Isn't that just RS? No, it's not. Have you played RS3? And as for the summoning 2.0, you don't know anything about summoning or what taming was trying to provide. You obviously didn't read the blog or listen to the video. That's what I take away from a comment like that. I love you, but there's a reason why people compare it to Hunter. Why? Taming comparing to Hunter? Because it has animals involved? You're not hunting an animal. You're taming it, and then you're raising an animal. You're caring for it by you have your own enclosure to store it, where you feed it specific foods that are required, and then that animal will help you as you level up the animal. It has its own stats. Okay, you level it up to be able to help you with your farming. You get a buff to your farming aspect. And in IRL hunting, people use a hunting companion animal. So you're saying because people use tamed animals to help them hunt IRL, that taming in game must be like hunting. What the fuck has this got to do with IRL hunting? Yeah, do you see? Yeah, but Shag and Turtles, when you say you completely see why people might think it's Hunter 2, it's because those people haven't read the blog. They haven't used their brains, which is what I said you need to do. You need to think about it logically. Put your narrow-minded view on this game aside for a second and actually read the fucking blog. That's what you've got to do. You've got to read the blog before you say these things. You can see why people do it. I can see why people do it too, because they're not fucking reading. That's what's happening. You watch the blog. No, you got to read the blog as well as watching the video. That's like this Bodhi reaction has just turned into me trying to raise him with fucking spastics. It's got nothing to do with Hunter. Sailing is agility because it involves movement. Yes. I read it hours before watching yours. I'm not. You're telling me that you can see why people see it as Hunter. I'm telling you no. I can see how people would think it's like summoning. I mean, I thought it was like summoning at first until I read the blog because it's why you've got a follower. But summoning was just get the pouch and shards, make the follower follows you for an X amount of time, and then it disappears. Then you get another pouch. This isn't how this skill is developed at all. You go out and you find the animals that you want and you train them, and then you actually technically form a bond with that companion. You level that companion, it's got its own stats, and you put your time into actually developing that follower to help you with what it is able to do as it levels up. So you don't just get the package straight out of a pouch, which is why it's different to summoning. Yeah, it's more like Pokemon, Pokescape. Yeah, it's a lot more similar to that. A hell of a lot more similar. It's got nothing to do with Hunter. Hunter in this game has the only pet or the only animal you keep in this game from Hunter is really salamanders and chins. Tamagotchi, but better, yeah. This one doesn't shit all over your house for no reason if you leave it alone. Everyone has their own opinion, but whether it's the right wavelength, there's always going to be left or right sides to debate. Of course, but like having an opinion and then just like spearheading something without thinking about it or reading it is completely different. We wish we could use our pets in taming, honestly. I don't think that's ever going to happen. Like, if you because pets are so rare and so far and few between, and so heavily relied on RNG to obtain, it would not be fair that someone who's already finished all the pets or someone who has certain boss pets are already leaps ahead of someone who has to go get another 5,000 KC. No, you can't stand ham, sorry. Taming will devalue pets. I think taming will devalue pets, yes. But let's move on with the discussion. Okay, let's move on with the video.
Entire game, so people can take that information, digest it, and kind of choose for themselves. My worry when I opened that blog, I did not expect Jagex to pitch sailing.
I didn't expect them to either.
The blog was that sailing was pitched, and a lot of people may have watched my video. That video got a lot of views, considering it took me whatever the length of the video was to make, because I simply was just talking. My worry was that people would see this blog, see sailing, and be like, oh, sailing, that's the skill that guy spoke about, blah, blah.
A lot of people were saying Bodhi's the reason sailing was on there. I disagree with that statement completely, because the sailing they pitched had absolutely nothing to do with what Bodhi was talking about in his sailing video. And Bodhi wasn't the only person mentioning it, wasn't the only person referencing it. And it's been something that's been on the minds of a lot of Redditors and just RuneScape players in general since 2015.
Blah, I'm just going to vote for that, and everything else just goes out of the window. That is very dangerous for the game. What you need to do is go back and read the blog again in detail, watch videos from content creators, and listen to everything they say about every skill, digest the information, take your own traits and think about it, and try and truly work out what skill you think you like out of the three. So for me, I'm going to just keep things short with this one. First of all, taming. Simply put, a lot of my opinions in this video are going to be very myopic, 2D, two-dimensional, extremely just
I believe he did say in his sailing video that it's the only option that he could see. I believe he did say that. I think he said in this video he didn't. I need to actually go back and have a look at it, but I'm pretty sure B0aty was quite adamant on the sailing idea in his video, if I remember correctly. When he was saying in this that he wasn't saying that sailing is the option, I think... I don't recall exactly. I need to go back and watch the video.
Not in detail replies to the skills. But I can't go into much more detail until there is more information given on the skills. Now, taming in general, I wish there was more information. They do need to give more to that skill. It just seems very, not bland, but just flat. When I read that one, like, it didn't really pop at me. You know, nothing really popped. And I'll come back to both sailing and shaman. I'm just going to call it shamanization for now. I physically, I don't write scripts in my videos. I physically don't have a clue what the skill is called off the top of my head. I'm hoping it comes back to me. It's like shamanization or something like that. But we'll start with taming. And yeah, taming, I just wasn't a huge fan. Now, again, I don't want to put into the idea in your heads that you're like, oh, okay, you know, he's not a huge fan of the skill. Maybe it's trash, you know, something like that. It doesn't matter what I want. Whatever of the 3 skills come out, or whatever skill it ends up being, depending how long on this skill, like, debate goes on, I'm going to train it to 99. That's a fact.
Yes, most people
I'm
are.
most probably going to enjoy it. And the reason why is because I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that Jagex will fumble this skill. There will be glitches when it comes out. There will be potentially some rollbacks. There'll be some server downtime. But there is no way they will make a skill that's garbage. And if you really think...
And that's something that, like... Man, it's so... Oh, man, I sound like a fucking broken record. Because I say this shit all the time. And I don't hear many other people saying this shit. And we're hearing B0aty say it just, like... is such a good thing, to be honest. Like, the amount of times that I say, and I talk about how Jagex is always doing what's best for the game, and people will complain, oh, it's going to be RS3, they're going to fuck it up, roll back this, and RS3 that, and there has been zero evidence of that happening in old school RuneScape since its release. There's been no evidence of it even heading in the direction of RS3, yet people will still constantly complain that the JMods don't do a good enough job. It kind of, it's because the community is retarded, yes. It's just like, I don't know, I don't know of many other creators who are openly vocal about their opinion on this, at least for what I say. Like, I hear a lot of creators talk shit about the JMods and the way that Jagex handles the game. Yet I've got JMods that are intentionally belittling and blocking me on social media platforms when I'm essentially the one that's encouraging the positive mindset towards their work. It's just very... I don't fucking know, man. A lot of content creators need to have this approach more, to be honest. They need to, like, get their audience to understand that Jagex does have the game's best interests at heart, 100%. If I had $1 for every time someone said this is the beginning of the end for OSRS, I could retire, 100%. The most asinine take I see is that OSRS was supposed to be 2007 escape. Yeah, the whole this isn't old school argument is like the worst argument I've seen. Not a Shaman fan, obviously, but even then, if it goes in, I have the confidence it'd end up good. Yes, no matter what, the skill is going to work. We're basically just deciding for Jagex what theme we want the skill to be, what we want it to bring to the game.
You won't? Think of every skill you've ever trained in this game. Which ones did you genuinely fully enjoy training because they were fun? You know? Now, I think about that. For me, I enjoyed training runecrafting with lava runes. Was it fun? I don't know. I enjoyed opening the bank and trying to bank as quick as possible. I enjoyed trying to craft all the runes as quick as possible, you know? With construction, I enjoyed trying to stack all the game ticks together. With Slayer, I enjoy Slayer, unless I have a garbage Slayer task. But how many skills in RuneScape are actually fully fun and enjoyable to train? That's the difficult question. I can enjoy almost any skill in this game, except for fishing. Fishing sucks. And also fletching darts, that's painful on the wrist.
But yeah, fletching darts does suck.
As of this moment, I have a max cape on the game. I've played RuneScape for almost 20 years. I do not know if I have fun training skills. I enjoy them to an extent, but I don't know if I have fun. That's the question I simply cannot work out if I can give you that answer. Even if I'm training Slayer, which is one of my favorite skills, and I pull one of my favorite tasks, am I having fun? I might be if I get like a good drop or something, but I don't know. I can't answer that. So in my opinion, the skill that comes out with this one is going to be a fun skill to train. And I'm pretty excited. And I'm hoping I don't drill that into people's heads and everyone's like, oh, this skill's going to be so fun. And it turns out to be not dead, but just sort of like similar.
I don't think we'll have a dead skill on release.
Not fun,
That's not going to happen.
It's very hard to place the correct information on that. But with taming, I'm not going to go into much detail. And the reason why is I don't really think it's that fleshed out. And I do need to see a bit more information on taming. And the reason why I'm not going into too much detail is because I don't want to make this video so long. I could talk for hours on these skills and go back and forth forever, but I don't really want to do that. I kill imps because if I pull a champion score, it's a 1 in 5,000 drop, and I lose very little time whacking that imp right there, so that's why I do it. So let me jump into the next skill, which is sailing. Sailing, I'm also not going to spend much time on because shamanization, establishmentarianism is the one I want to talk about, okay?
Yep.
Now, sailing was very similar to the concept that I personally spoke about. Now, did Jagex take
I don't think it was, to be honest.
Information from me or any traits from me or anything? I wouldn't say just me. There's a lot of people that spoke about sailing.
I didn't personally think it was a lot to do with
again, with a
video.
very myopic and two-dimensional reply on this video, until they bring more information, is sailing, again, it does stand as an extremely strong idea, in my opinion. A lot of people might think so, but sailing has borderline infinite potential in the game. You can expand on it so much. You can add underwater, you can add shipwrecks, you can add random events where your ship goes to some random island, where the random event is the island.
Which is why my argument is that it should just, if it's got this infinite potential, why limit it to level 99? Why not give it an infinite log? Its own infinite concept, because skills are capped by the ability to hit 99, right? We don't have infinite potential on, well, I was going to say prayer, because you have 99 prayer, then that's it. You can only have up to really 99 different prayers, unless you want to have double level prayers, then you have just a new prayer book. But you're never going to have anything past rune plate bodies unless they completely rework smithing, because the highest level is 99. We just bump it up to 120, dude. Why 120? Why not go to 200? Why not go to 150? Why 120 specifically? If everything's going to be consistent with level 99, why cap something with so much potential with something that has 99? Yes, I mean, we're never going to hit that 99 limit like for another 10, 15 years. But eventually it will. I mean, they had to rework weapons, right? That's why the Dragon Hunter Lance is now 78, and then they had to move the Rapier, this Blade of Saldor, and the Inquisitor's Mace to 80, the Scythe to 80 and 90 strength, and they had to move the Fang around. They had to move the attack levels of a lot of weapons because everything was just level 75 tier, even though they were completely different tiered weapons and they were of different values. And now they're trying to squeeze items and gear between different level brackets because there's a cap. There's a limit, which is level 99. What happens once we hit that level 99? You've reached your limit. So why not expand on that and make it go further? You will start training it after 99. Such a small percentage of the game goes to 200 mil XP. You can't use that towards the infinite argument. No, that's very true.
I can just go on forever, but I'm not going to that much because I don't want to drag out the video too much. But sailing,
like
and the concept that Jagex gave, not what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to try not to give my full opinions in a way where you're just agreeing with me. I want people to... I think the important thing that needs to happen now is people need to go and read the skills and kind of go with what they think themselves.
Yeah, I think the reading is more important than the listening. I even tweeted it last night. I made a very vocal statement that the video didn't do the skills justice on that blog. I think the video did a terrible job at pitching the new skills, but I think the blog itself and the illustrations were a hell of a lot better at pitching the skills, and they allowed me to see and appreciate what they have to offer a lot more, which is why I went from considering saying no to all three to actually considering any of the three to be passed as a new skill, especially taming and shamanism. Anyone else feel like they want to see 3 more new skill proposals to be able to pick between 6 new skills before they choose? I mean, that'd be also really cool if we can get another 3, because it just feels like what else could there be rather than these 3 skills? But also, this doesn't have to be the only skill we add to old school RuneScape. This is just the one we're going to do for now. We don't have to leave it at 1. Why did Leaf Green relight the brazier? Is he a fucking idiot? Can everyone off that brazier, please?
Content creators are just blasting everyone's ears with, oh, sailing's amazing, sailing's amazing, sailing's amazing, taming is amazing, blah, blah, blah. People are going to get a very biased opinion from potentially their favorite creator. And that's the last thing I want to do, particularly when I made a video on sailing already. But that sailing concept, I didn't think they were ever going to pitch it. I just gave the idea of the fact that I think if they took that sailing concept I said, copy and pasted and put it in the game.
But that's, I mean, that's what's going to happen. I am not surprised. I think sailing is the one I was least surprised about them pitching. The only one I wasn't sure they were going to do sailing is because I was also just as convinced they might pitch summoning or dungeoneering or a variant of them. Which I guess you could argue taming has like the backbone, the same structure as summoning, right? So there is always that discussion to be had. But I feel like, yeah, the amount that sailing was talked about, that's the one I'm least shocked about. I'm more shocked about shamanism and taming, to be honest, especially shamanism. I will never have seen that. But that's what I said as well. Like, I want to see what Jagex offers before we make a decision on what skill should come to the game, because they come up with some good ideas.
Piece of a skill, hypothetically, if they can create that. Can they create that? I don't know. Nobody knows. Now, when it comes to the skill, I think the skill is going to be brilliant anyway, so I'm very excited for it. But sailing, the concept they brought up, I think the best way to see it is it comes off as one where the main thing I want to say is I don't really know if sailing would be a good skill to train in an MMO. Now, you might think RuneScape's not much of an MMO because everyone plays Iron Man, everyone plays alone, no XP waste, no one talks to each other. If you're sailing and you're sailing your own boat in your own instance, then the whole skill is completely isolated from the game. Like, that's it. I don't know if you'll be able to build a boat with 20 people and everyone's training at the same time, but as soon as the meta, the efficiency meta comes out, we all know that's what's happening. No XP waste will exist as soon as the new skill comes out. It just won't be solved until people get 99. Once people get 99 and start rolling for 200 mil experience in the biggest race ever to 4.8 billion, permanent rank 1 on the legacy high scores or non-legacy, whatever it's going to be. I don't know if the, for those that don't know, basically the current high scores and the people that have done the 4.6 billion, 200 million experience in every single current skill in the game, their high scores will live forever. They will permanently be solidified with those ranks. I think that is an absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's a fair idea
that Jagex have done.
Yeah, if only they can fix the group Ironman high scores.
The fact they're adding another high scores, and I believe the current high scores will be the legacy high scores, and the new ones will be the officials. I love it. It's a super respectful sign. Obviously, if you look back at the game, imagine we had high scores in RuneScape 3. I know it's called RuneScape, but just RuneScape 3 for this video, where you could see the high scores the day before new skills released, all the way back to when runecrafting potentially released, which I believe, yeah, runecrafting was the first skill in RS3. That would be really cool, I think. That would be really cool. But in old school, they're respecting the 200 mils that are basically going through, and I really, really like that one, so it's good. Right, I just completely forgot what I was saying. So sailing comes off as I don't know how it's going to be trained. But if it can be trained in a way where people can interact
well,
with each other,
they're gonna train it just
like
by going out to sea with your boats and completing journeys. That's what they said. The bulk of your experience will come from doing exhibitions, and it sounded like it's just going to be mostly privately instanced. You might be able to have a group instance too, but it's going to be from going out on your boat, is essentially what they said.
Guardians of the Rift came out at a horrible time in my life because I was going through the skin condition. And just being able to train and talk to so many people in-game at the time was just a blessing for me.
It's
so
like going to Wintertide, just seeing everyone be a troll. I think
sailing currently with the concept might be very isolated, and that's my only worry.
It does sound like it'll be isolated.
For the concept of sailing, it doesn't matter what they pitch. Sailing just has an infinite level of potential. You can do anything with that. You can open up oceans. You can open up the under the oceans. You can open up even more under the oceans. You can put anything under the ocean, you know? You can open up so much content. Like, you could even whack on a triple.
Oh, man, you may as well just do fucking space exploration then, and everyone becomes an astronaut, because you have infinite potential up in the sky too, don't you? You could go off-world to different planets. I mean, it's just as much potential. Why don't we have a skill called Elon Musk, and we just Tesla to the moon? Why not? It's the exact same. In fact, there's more potential than under the ocean. Still capped at level 99.
Outfit might give you a 3% XP boost, you know? And then Trouble Brewing is now a popular minigame. And everyone's doing it, you know? It's like, there's a lot that can happen with it. But my main worry is the fact that I think training that as a skill would be isolated. A good way to like explain how some skills were when they were being trained is if you ever played Twisted League. The very first league, everybody was training skills like fishing at the one spot in Korend. And it was great because you just chat to each other the whole time. Social skilling, I like social skilling.
I've read up a lot about how
would
fucked
not
it
be
was.
social skilling with the current pitch. Now, again, we don't know. There's more to come. We will have to see. As for the rewards, the benefits, the perks from sailing, the potential, I still think it's absolutely fantastic. Now, going into Shamanization 3000, this skill is the one that interests me the most. And I can't really go into much detail on it because it is a very complex potential.
I think shamanism is just as fucking black and white and just as complex as taming, to be honest. I said earlier in the stream, but I'll say it for this video. You have really the same concept, because the way it's like the outcome sounds like it's going to be is that you're going to get buffs and assistance from both skills. Whether it's from the follower that's following you or it's from the shit that you make with your totems in shamanism, you're going to be able to buff your gear, the way that you are farming and harvesting, the way that you're gathering, using utility, the way that you're using your weapons in combat, can all be buffed by either the follower you have or the buff you put on the weapon. It's just whether you want it to be with a follower following you or you want to do it through the shamanization process. Sorry. Said that really autistically, but you understand what I'm saying. The outcome, the result, or the impact it will have on the game will likely, or could potentially be the same. It's just how you farm it. That's really how it looks to me, at least.
Skill. And the thing with this, again, to try
shamanism just sounds a lot more technical, a lot more full on, a lot more. There's a lot more into it, or going into the process of the skill at least. But I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing.
As short as possible with my opinions is I think that this one personally is the best. If I had to rate the best, I eventually went through it and decided that...
Bodhi just gave his unbiased opinion saying shamanism is the best, so everyone vote shamanism.
Taming I want to put as a 0. It's the concept that I think is inferior to the other two concepts. So for this video, we're going to say that I have 0% interest in taming. That's obviously not true. If it comes out, I will train it and I will probably enjoy it. But for this video, I want to try and make it a bit between shamanization, shamaning. I'm going to pause the video. I need to find out what it's... Shamanism! I must have said it at least one time this video.
I don't think you did.
Shamanism, basically, this skill is the one that can be amazing, but it can also be very dangerous.
Well, any skill could be. It doesn't have to even be a skill. Even raids have the same impact. A raid could be really interesting or really dangerous. And what do you know? You got TOA, which seemed to be a massive success, and turns out it's, to be honest, the worst of the 3 fucking raids. But a raid can make a game just as much as it can break it. So can a boss. The Phantom Muspar may have made the game in some aspects, but it definitely broke the fucking game in other aspects.
That's really...
Bodhi being paid by big sailing. I'm sorry? Are you implying Bodhi is being paid to make certain skills sound good? Cranial Purgatory? Take Tob out of the game? Well, don't be cringe, okay? Tob, best raid. Why do you think Raids 3 is bad? I don't think Raids 3 is bad. I think Raids 1 and 2 are better than Raids 3. In my opinion. Forgot the S? What do you mean forgot the S? Bodhi being paid by big sailing. What do you mean? I don't get it. TOA is very successful, even though I agree it's weak as well. Yeah, I think of the 3 raids, TOA is the least fun, in my opinion. The least good. Like big farmer / S for sarcasm. It's Reddit speak, okay, but don't speak to me like I'm on fucking Reddit, because I don't use that fucking website. I would have had no clue that you were being sarcastic, dude.
Brilliant. But you know, when Jagex decided to add, and this video is not going to be bringing Jagex down in any way, shape, or form, but it's the only example I want to give.
Yep.
When Jagex decided to add the twisted bow to the game, that apparently was a completely fine non-power creep 70 or 75 range weapon. Shamanism has the potential to change the entire game.
Now, this is where people are gonna, you need to, like, so, before Bodhi gets into what he's gonna say, I'm gonna tell you what I was saying last night. I don't think the best, like, you're gonna have 2 choices, right? You're gonna have big buffs that are temporary, or you're gonna have little buffs that are permanent. Those are really the 2 best ways to go about buffing equipment in this game. It doesn't have to be combat related, and I think they mentioned they don't want to mess with combat too much. I'm hoping they're really smart about it and don't do anything big with combat related buffs. I feel like if you're going to go through with shamanism or even taming, because the pets are going to do the same thing as the buffs from shamanism, it's just in the form of your follower rather than what you attach to your equipment. The best way to go about it is, especially in terms of combat, that's where you need to be careful, is about convenience more than increasing pure damage per second. Leaving damage per second out of most, if not all of it, temporary as in charges. No, more like you have 30 minutes or an hour to use this, or you have, charges or X amount of in-time combat, like Serp Helmet. The Serp Helmet works on 11,000 charges, right? But it's 10 scales per minute of combat. So it's time-based charges, essentially. Rather than the whip, where it is every time you swing the whip, it's a charge, or the scythe. So it depends on how you want the buff to work. It depends on how it is balanced. But you don't have to have, the twisted bow, and if you add this effect, the twisted bow gets increased range strength, or it becomes more accurate. You could just have a buff on the twisted bow. That means your arrows are automatically poisoned without it being poisonous. Now, some people might think that is completely fucking useless. It's actually semi-effective in Theatre of Blood. But you don't, it could be little things like that, or it's just guaranteed your arrows won't be consumed. So you don't need to worry about having the Avers on your back. You don't need a back switch because it's just going to save your arrows without having the Avers, for example. Or there could be various other obstacles, there could be something just as broken, like you can have an offhand with your bow, which would be ridiculous, but there's different ways to go about having buffs that don't just purely increase DPS. Like I was saying yesterday, you could have a buff where the more Bandos gear that you wear, the more effective your Bandos spec weapons are. So your Bandos Gold Sword might be more effective for its stat drain on the spec, but you need to be wearing BCP, Tassets, and the boots and the War Blessing for it to be the most effective with this certain buff. Or it doesn't have to be just straight up, you're going to hit double damage, you're going to do more damage, increase your strength, increase your accuracy. You can do other things around combat. Have a buff on your Sang Staff, that means that you're going to have a better chance to not consume charges on your Sang Staff rather than increasing your magical damage. It doesn't have to be direct DPS, because that's where you can really start to get dangerous with the way you balance the game. Used to watch you years ago. Good to see you doing well on YouTube. Thank you, Neil. I appreciate that, man. Welcome to the live stream.
Everything can change with this skill. It is one that, if it comes to the game, will be absolutely phenomenally good for the complete future of the game, or it can be one that potentially breaks the game. Now, it will break the game, but will it ruin the game is the different question. I don't think it will. I don't think it'll ruin the game, but it will change a lot. The concept of also training this one as well also feels like it could be something like a summoning vibe, collecting charms, gathering, but you'll be in the world of Galena again, and you will actually be able to potentially interact with characters, see them around, make the MMO look busy. I think that's one thing Jagex have done fantastic in Old School in the past, let's say, half decade. They have brought players together in certain areas. You might be one of those people that's in World 9 at Wintertoad, and you have your private off or something, but things like Guardians of the Rift were incredible. The smithing minigame, I have forgotten the name off the top of my head, but that one was good, but it wasn't quite a Guardians of the Rift one. That was fantastic. But Shamanism is currently the skill that I think has the potential to enter the game quite nice. It really has that good vibe of just being a good skill from day one instantly. It has that potential where people can kind of interact with each other, but it also has the potential, and it also, I might be right, it might be, honestly, Shamanism, it came off as it might be one of the more boring skills to train, it kind of feels like it's a grind for a good reward that makes the rest of the game good. I don't know if that's a good thing, but I think that's kind of a good thing, Like, a lot of people will say they don't enjoy training 99 agility, but you could
just have buffs that aren't combat related. Sorry, just going back on it, that it's just like, you have to equip it to a ranged weapon, so to a T-bow. And then what this does is, while you're wearing the T-bow, you have a 1 in 4 chance or 1 in 8 chance of not consuming a dose while drinking your potion. What would that have to do with combat? Well, to be honest, that could be a matter of life and fucking death in a Chambers of Xeric run, especially at the end of an Olm run, for those looking to push out a Deathless. That can really make or break the game. Same thing for Turns of a Mascot. That could really save you an Ambrosius sip where you're not... Yeah, the Inferno. things like that. I don't think that's overly broken if it's the right scale of potential, the right scale of it being procced. But, you know, while you have a range weapon equipped, or this specific range weapon equipped, you could have a chance of not consuming a dose while drinking a potion. Or it could be a trade-off. You have a chance to either consume 2 or 1. Like, you know, there's ways you can affect combat without directly affecting how, like, efficiently you manage killing something. But you could still actually, like, improve how effective you are in combat without it just being pure DPS.
In the game, it's very difficult to like put everything together when it comes down to these ones. But that skill, I think, yeah, that's what I think. You can train it with other people potentially. You can train it potentially passively. You're playing in the world of Galinor. I don't know how sailing will be, but sailing really does come off as the fact that it will be kind of an isolated skill. And taming, I've really not put much thought into it at all. I just didn't really think it was that good compared to the other two. The other two just seem more potential. I'm quite confident the other two will go through. Again, please do not let what I say drill into your heads. I'm trying not to go into extreme detail, because I do think we'll get more information, and I can definitely remake this video with more information of how the whole game might change, with examples where you might be able to relate to those examples, again, hypothetically.
You know, I had no idea that the Ring of Wealth teleported you to the Falador Park until now. Like, I knew it was on there, but I never knew it was on there, so... Shit, fuck, I'm a dickhead.
In my opinion, at this current point in time, comes off as one that would fit quite nicely into the game immediately, but the rewards from Shamaning could completely dismantle the game, the meta, everything we know. RuneScape is a very
think it's going to go that extreme, but it could.
Game. That's a very important thing that people need to remember. If there is a meta to do something, that is what you're going to go and learn, because it's inefficient to do something else. My rule of RuneScape: I have played this game for almost 20 years, like I said before. You should do what absolutely ever the way you want to play. You know, I'm someone that doesn't really play with plugins because I like to kind of... I don't like the idea of, like, let's say there was an update and I log in and I'm doing a boss and now my plugins are turned off and I don't know how to do the boss anymore. I don't like that. For a game I've played for 20 years, if I don't know how to do a boss because something isn't on my screen, I can't. It's not something I enjoy. I need to be able to know how to play the game. Right now in this video, I'm using a load of plugins, like a load of them, but that's because I just think it's a bit more enjoyable with the plugins. So I will turn them on whenever the hell I want to. It's just most of the time I don't. Don't let anyone choose how you play the game. And that's just one thing that will come down by default, though, when the new skills happen, is there will be an efficiency-driven meta for any of these skills that come out with the rewards.
Yeah, but people are still coming up with new efficient metas for skills even now, and every time there's an update, whether it's a new skill or not, there's always something or some sort of new efficient way to do skills. So that's just going to happen no matter what.
Example here is Shamanism, where everything you do is weaker unless you train that skill. It's almost mandatory to train that skill at that point. And although that's probably a good thing, I think that's a good thing for a game potentially, it might be a bit overwhelming on the immediate release of the actual skill. So we'll have to wait and see. But that's the bottom line rules. A TLDR, I'll whack in the top of the description, a TLDR. Taming, I'm not a huge fan of it.
Yep.
Sailing, I think, has infinite potential, but might be a very isolated training method, which deletes from the MMO concept. But you can do a lot with sailing. It would be fantastic. And shamanism, I think, would be one more where I think it's a better... It seems like a better skill to be added right now. And I think the rewards could completely change the entirety of the future of the actual game.
So, on that subject, whenever I tell my friends I don't want sailing because it's just teleporting with extra steps, they say I'm wrong. Well, you are wrong. So, you should just not vote in general. I think, in my personal opinion, which you can take with obviously a grain of salt, I think, for me personally, sailing is the weakest pitch because I think, while I've always said I agree that it is more, it can be more than, it can have such infinite potential. I mean, so could the other skills, to be honest. I think sailing can go much further than a skill, and I think it absolutely should go further than a skill. I think that's totally fine to come into the game, but I don't think it should be as the new skill. The more I think about it, the more I do like shamanism more than taming, but I think ultimately shamanism and taming can give us the exact same things in-game. They can give us the same results if we wanted to. It just depends if you want it to have a pet following you or something equipped to your gear. Shouldn't a new skill change the game? It should change the game, yes, and that there's no doubt in my mind that it will. I think the less to do with affecting direct combat in this game, the safer the skill will be, at least for the time being. When the skill first comes out, I think it would be wise to just spend less time focusing on how it can affect combat directly. But that doesn't mean you can't use certain things from new skills to assist you in combat. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. If you go too far, you can really damage things. I pretty much have the same thoughts as B0aty, but I just don't want something like shamanism to change the core of the game. I want something complementary instead. Yeah, I think that's the main thing. You want to not have... how you doing, by the way, Nate? You want to not have shamanism affect certain parts of the game too heavily. But then is it not enough if it doesn't do that? Like, what parts are okay to affect more than others? Like, could you affect runecrafting to the point that doing multiple runes does grant extra XP as well? Is that too much? If it's only a certain amount of XP, though, is that okay? But then, obviously, anything that increases direct DPS beyond, like, a very small amount is going to be... It's just going to make the new skill pretty much something that is relied on to be able to compete with the next generation of combat or content in this game. You're going to be so far behind in content otherwise. Is there, like, then do you just leave combat out of it? Then the new skill just misses out on over 50% of what the players in this game enjoy doing. But then the same could be said for sailing, where if sailing is pretty much just off on its own aspect, its own thing, that's also going to have very little to do with the rest of the game. Then it just becomes its own mini game, its own concept. It becomes its own skill that you do away from everything else. Yes, you can train other skills inside sailing, but how do you bring sailing into the rest of the game rather than taking the rest of the game into sailing? It depends. I think at the end of the day, we need to see what skill is chosen and how Jagex refines it, and then we decide whether that skill is worth it. Because I don't think there's a wrong skill. I don't think any of the three skills can go forward as a skill. If it's refined well, I think we should look at pushing it to beta. If it's refined and not good enough, then we can just vote no and go back. I think there's not really much we can do about what people are going to vote on. Some people are going to vote certain skills no matter what, because that's just how they feel. That's what they want in the game. But I think no matter what, if it goes to refinement, you have to be honest with your feedback. You have to be open-minded about it. And if you don't like it, you can always vote no. There's nothing wrong with voting no if you don't like any of the choices. Do you think shamanism giving XP buffs would be healthy for the game, potentially making skills like runecraft and agility faster to train? I think XP buffs are totally acceptable, provided they're not ridiculous. Like, I'm totally open to the runecrafting and agility outfits giving XP buffs. It's only 2.5%. I don't think that's necessarily game breaking. Anything more than that could become questionable, but it just has to be balanced right, to be honest. And Jagex knows what they're doing when it comes to balancing the majority of the time. I wouldn't say all the time, but the majority of it. I'm a fan of skilling, but also has to work through a beta. It does have to work through the beta, yes. So you have to just be open-minded, I think, is the best way to go about it. If sailing passes and it's refined well and it works, I will 100% be like, yeah, of course, let's fucking go. But I want to see it refined and I want to see how it works before I go further, because I personally don't know if it can at this point. But I'll absolutely look into it. But we'll just have to see what gets voted through, which is next week on the 4th of April.
Which could be quite interesting.
Is when you can start voting.
See, power creep is something that we've been trying to keep away from in old school. That being said, one question, yes or no answer, is power creep in the game since the release? The answer is obviously yes. We have power creep. And I don't think it's scaled that well. A twisted bow should be 99 range requirement. Straight up should just be 99 range requirement end game. So we'll have to see. But
I don't know if 99, because I feel like you can go much further than what the twisted bow is already. That thing fucking drives me out the wall. The amount of zeros that fucking bow hits. I don't know if 99 is fair. I would say 80 something. 85, 87 is probably more acceptable, because I think you could definitely take it further. But then, is that too far? Who knows? Man, you talk so much, but you have a sexy voice, so it's okay. Shut up, idiot.
Shamanism is the one that can completely change everything in the game. Is that a good thing? It's hard to say. EOC might have been a good thing from the point of view of a lot of players. It really was not. Now, I'm not going to compare a new skill to the evolution of combat that happened, but once the new skill's here, it will hit a beta stage. It will never see the live game unless the players think it's fine. And I don't think anything game-breaking will come in by default for any of the 3 skills that will pass a beta stage. I really cannot see that. So it should be okay. But other than that, that's my initial opinion. The video's a little under 20 minutes. I know I don't go into true detail of like how the skills train
That's totally fine.
or anything, but that is what I want you guys to do. I think you have to read the dev blog. You have to understand it yourself rather than listen to a third-party creator, because otherwise you will have a lot of bias.
This motherfucker gained like well over 10 easy clues in 20 odd minutes.
Potentially drilled into your head, and I think it definitely needs to be something that you understand yourself and can take some traits from another creator. That's my bottom line, though. If you skip to the TLDR, you're a smart individual. Well played. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you all later, and I'll probably have another video about the new skills when a bit more information pops up. So have a good one.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's my main verdict as well at the end there, what I just rambled on about. I think we have a lot to think about as a community going forward with this new skill. I think if you are going to sit there and consistently try to argue with me or anyone that it's basically Hunter 2, it's Herblore Invention 2, or Sailing the Sea of Thieves, you should just shut up and vote no, because like it's obvious that you don't want anything to do with these new skills. It's obvious you don't want these new skills to be part of the game, and it's obvious you're not going to take the time to think about it. Either start taking it seriously or sit out. It's that simple. This is the easiest room in the raid. It's quite simple. You got a big boy. Look at him. God damn. Fuck me. Look at that boy. It's huge. You got a big boy.